Welcome to Crimson Guitars. I don't often do product reviews or any of the rubbish that you often see on YouTube, but I've been doing a lot of research recently in planes and metal and sharpening and all of that. I've been building guitars now for coming up on a dozen years, something like that, and right from the start I've been sharpening my tools the traditional way, albeit using Japanese waterstones. And I've got to the point in my life when I am starting to research. I have less time, but I'm starting to spend more time working on how to keep a sharper edge and what that entails. To that end, I have got the awesome book by Hock, The Perfect Edge, and quite frankly he has a vested interest in writing a good book about sharpening because he produces plane blades and knife blades and things like that. And however, the book is fantastic, and I've read it through 3 times in several weeks, and it's very, very interesting. And we've also come to the reason for this video. I've got here a 2 3/8 inch blade and cap iron produced by Hock tools. Now these ones were actually made in France, and they're made out of high carbon steel, and apparently, well, he makes them himself in a small workshop in the States, but he's found this company in France that does it as well, if not better, than he does. So I'm very, very interested in seeing what difference having these makes to using my favourite plane, which is my number 7. So I'm going to sharpen these, get them on my plane, and we'll see. Now the blades themselves are incredibly sharp, and they've been cryogenically treated, which normally somebody says that and you sort of call bullshit. But we'll see. Apparently these are phenomenal tools, and hopefully it is going to vastly improve on a plane that I use more often than anything else. This isn't a paid product thing. I'm not affiliated with them anyway, and these were not sent to me by the company to do anything. It's just I thought it would be an interesting video for you to watch. So first things first, I'm going to get these out of the packets and start sharpening. Caution, contains sharp edge. So let's see how much work needs doing. So my number 7 is a Stanley Bailey made in England, and has served me very, very well. It's actually served a lot of people very well. The blades were much longer, so it's been used a lot and sharpened a lot. And I've been saying for many, many years that you can't beat old steel unless you're prepared to pay a lot of money. And while these aren't extortionately expensive, they do cost a bit. The reason for this video is to see whether it's worth it. Now, the first thing with setting up a plane is that your cap iron has to connect with the blade all the way along, otherwise it will chatter. And effectively, the cap iron is also called a chip breaker, I think, if I recall correctly, and that knocks the shavings that you make up. I'm being very careful not to stab myself with the blade blade here or get it underneath my fingernail. That would rather hurt. So, and that is where this Hock chip breaker or cap iron comes in. It's much thicker, much more solid, and it is actually sharp enough I could cut something with that. So that should you should be able to buy one of these, and that alone would improve how your plane works. Okay, using that to undo that is a big no-no, but well, what can you do? Obviously, well, not so obviously actually, when you're sharpening a plane blade, you have to have a mirror surface on both sides. Leaving one side rough, you will never ever get a sharp edge. So that is important to know. Check out our sharpening videos. The Hock blade it's about 3/4 of a millimeter just by eye thicker than the original one, and the angle is a little bit less acute than what I normally have, but that's not a problem. So interestingly, this has just come out the packet, and that appears to be on the wrong side. That wants to be there, or there. So first things first, that's rather interesting. Okay, and that is looking. It feels rather lovely. I've done no sharpening whatsoever. But before I do any sharpening, I want to see what it feels like and whether it fits directly in my plane without any work. I will need to pull that screw out because the new cap iron and new blade are so much thicker. So let me find a screwdriver. To all intents and purposes, that went straight in. The angle of your frog should be the same and meet up perfectly with that part of your blade, of your plane at least. And we have done this here. Now, once installed, these combined are thicker than than what I'm used to having. What am I doing? Ha! They're so similar that I got confused between the frog and the blade. My goodness. Now, and what this means is that I've got less of a gap at my mouth than I am used to, which might be an issue. It might not, though. So as you move the blade out, let's see, it's just starting to cut there. Now that is a small gap. I could move the frog back, but that would then produce chatter because the blade would be unsupported at a vital position. Now, this is something that a lot of people online have asked about, and quite frankly, I'm hoping that this will work perfectly. I suspect that I might have to file away very carefully a small amount of metal there at the mouth, and to be honest, that really wouldn't be too much of an issue, but we'll see. If you want to go through the whole process of sharpening a plane, I have other videos, and well, there's a link up in the corner. And yes, check it out. Although, as I've said earlier, I'm doing a lot of experimenting, and I'm interested in improving my technique. So, let's see. However, on to the specifics of this Hock blade. Quite frankly, it has lived up to initial expectations and has been very, very easy to sharpen, which, well, I'm rather amazed, quite frankly. It's got to this stage rather rapidly. So once you've sharpened, it's not whether it shaves, it's how smoothly and easily it shaves. Quite frankly, I wouldn't mind shaving my head with that, although I would probably cut an ear off in the process. Let us get it back on the plane. First things first, put the chip breaker back on. I line it up with just under 1 millimeter of blade showing. Now this is personal preference, but that seems to work best for me. Nice and tight. There's a little gap there, and that's holding the two together rather well. The final test, of course, is to see what it feels like. Now, a lot depends on how the plane is set up and or fettled, as they say, but well, let's see. I've got the smallest amount of blade. This is beautiful. I think I'm in love. This is taking paper fine shavings and doing so beautifully. I need to continue working on the setup of the plane itself, but I was worried about the mouth being too small, and that is absolutely not the case. And the plane, well, the blade cuts better than any other plane blade I've ever had, and this depresses the hell out of me. The moment of truth. This is now cutting beautifully fine shavings straight off the bat. It took me less than 10 minutes to get it from a factory state to being sharp enough to work with. I will probably go back and spend another 20 minutes or so flattening off the back a little bit more than I have so far, but I'm almost depressed. Quite frankly, I like it when I can turn around and say, well, all of the hype is just that, it's hype. Unfortunately, these blades are phenomenal, and it's very unfortunate because I have 7 more planes that don't have Hock blades in them, and that's sad. I now need to go and buy some more plane blades, if you'll excuse me. This has been Crimson Guitars, talking about Hock blades. Check out crimsonguitars.com for more videos and tutorials in guitar building and the like. We've got a shop where you can buy luthier's tools and guitar parts and guitars. Hey, guitars. But yeah, I'm going to have to start selling Hock blades at some point now, I suppose. But anyhow, consider this 100% positive. I had thought that perhaps the mouth of the plane would be a little bit too small, but given the results, I am perfectly happy. And over and out. Goodbye. So I've had the Hock system in for a couple of weeks. The only thing I've changed is I've put a small camber on the blade. I tried a flat blade and I just don't like it. It's not the way I work. I feel I have more control that way. But basically everything is absolutely great. This blade lasts longer and cuts smoother than anything I've ever used before. I suspect that having just the chip breaker on with one of your old blades would make a greater difference than buying a blade and keeping your old chip breaker. The chip breaker really it's beautiful. It makes for a much smoother cut. The blade lasts longer and sharpens easier by a small amount, but yeah, the chip breaker is for me the real epiphany. So yeah, as I've said, it's all working rather well. Thanks for watching.